Before we start today's lesson, let me ask you a very simple question. How many of you can see me? How many of you can hear my voice? How many of you can feel the chair you are sitting on? And how many of you can smell something right now? Now think carefully. Your eyes, ears, skin, nose and tongue are working continuously. But have you ever thought, how does light become sight? How does sound become hearing? How does touch become feeling? How does smell become experience? How does the outside world enter the mind? The answer to all these questions is one very important psychological process called sensation. So today we are going to study in detail chapter 5, sensation. This is one of the most important topics in your syllabus and also very important for exams. Let us begin and understand. What is sensation? Students, we live in a world full of energy. Light is energy, sound is energy, heat is energy. Smell and taste are chemical energy, pressure is mechanical energy. But our brain cannot understand light directly, our brain cannot understand sound directly. The brain understands only one language, nerve impulses. So how does light or sound become nerve impulse? Here comes the role of sensation. Let us understand the definition. Sensation is the process by which sense organs receive stimuli and convert them into nerve impulses. So remember, sensation has two main functions, receiving stimuli and converting stimuli into nerve impulses. This conversion process is called transduction. So in exams, you can write sensation is a process by which physical energy from the environment is received by sense organs and converted into nerve impulses. Our sense organs are called gateways of knowledge. Why? Because the world enters our mind only through them. Sense organs include eyes for vision, ears for hearing, skin for touch, heat, cold and pain, nose for smell, tongue for taste. But students, we do not have only 5 senses. We also have kinesthetic sense. It tells us about the position and movement of body parts. Example, even with eyes closed, you know where your hand is right now. Vestibular sense. It maintains balance and posture. If the system is disturbed, you feel dizzy. That is why you do not fall when you are walking. Organic sense. It gives information about internal organs. Example, hunger, thirst, heartbeat, stomach pain, etc. So, our body is full of sensory systems. Inside every sense organ, there are special cells called receptors. These receptors are sensitive to specific types of energy. For example, eye receptors respond only to light, ear receptors respond only to sound, skin receptors respond to pressure, heat, cold and pain, nose and tongue respond to chemical substances. These receptors convert physical energy into nerve impulses. This conversion is called transduction. So remember this line for your exam. Transduction is the process by which physical energy is converted into nerve impulses. And these are called transducers. Why do we need sensation? The main purpose is survival. Because sensation warns us about danger, helps us find food and water, helps us avoid injury, helps us interact with the environment, helps us maintain health. Example, pain tells us something is wrong, smell tells us food is spoiled, heat tells us fire is dangerous. So, without sensation, life is impossible. Now, let us ask a very scientific question. How strong must a stimulus be for us to feel it? How faint can a sound be and still be heard? How dim can a light be and still be seen? This is studied in a branch of psychology called psychophysics. Psychophysics was founded by Gustav Fechner. Psychophysics studies the relationship between physical energy and psychological experience. So it connects physics plus psychology. Now we come to a very important concept, threshold. Threshold means minimum level of stimulation required to produce sensation. There are two types, absolute threshold and differential threshold. Let us understand absolute threshold. Definition: absolute threshold is the minimum amount of stimulus energy required to produce a sensation 50% of the time. Why 50%? Because sometimes we detect it, sometimes we don't. Example: vision. A candle flame seen from 30 miles away on a clear dark night. Hearing the tick of a watch heard from 20 feet in a quiet room. Smell one drop of perfume diffused in 3-room apartment. So this shows our senses are extremely sensitive. Differential threshold. Differential threshold is also called just noticeable difference, JND. The definition is, differential threshold is the smallest change in a stimulus that can be detected. Example, if you're holding a weight, how much extra weight must be added so that you feel it is heavier? Let me give you an example. Say for an example, you're holding 1 kilogram of sugar in your hand. So how much weight should you add to this sugar to feel that extra weight? Maybe few grams or maybe 1 gram. Next, Weber's law. Weber found that the JND is not a fixed amount. It is a constant fraction of the original stimulus. This is called Weber's law. For weight, Weber fraction is 1 by 30. Meaning, if you have 30 grams of say sugar in your hand, you must add 1 gram extra to it. So if you're holding 30 grams, you must add at least 1 gram to notice a visible difference. If you're holding 300 grams, you must add at least 10 grams to notice the difference. So the bigger the stimulus, it needs bigger change. Characteristics of sensation. Every sensation has 5 characteristics. First, threshold. Minimum intensity needed to feel. Second, intensity. Strength of stimulus. Example, bright light versus dim light. Third, latency. Time gap between stimulus and experience. Fourth, duration. How long the stimulus lasts. Fifth, extensity. Area covered by stimulus. Example, pinprick versus big injury. So remember, sensation is the first step of knowledge. Without sensation, there is no attention, no perception, no thinking, and no learning. Now, let us understand what is attention. Before we start this topic, let me ask you something again. You are sitting in this classroom, you can hear the fan, you can hear my voice, you can hear noise outside, you can feel your clothes, you can see your book, your friend, the board, you're watching this video on YouTube, you can see the screen. But tell me honestly, are you aware of all these things at the same time? No. Right now, you are mainly listening to my voice. Why? Because your mind is selecting one thing and ignoring others. This mental process is called attention. So today we are going to study one of the most important and practical topics in psychology. Students, we are living in a world full of stimuli. At any moment, light, sound, smell, touch, thoughts, feelings, memories, all are competing for our mind. But the mind cannot deal with everything at once. So the mind does not capture everything at once. The mind does something very intelligent. It selects some stimuli and rejects others. This selective activity of the mind is called attention. Otherwise, you will go mad. So in simple words, attention means focusing the mind on one object or activity while ignoring others. One very famous definition is given by William James. He said, attention is the taking possession by the mind in clear and vivid form of one out of what seem several simultaneously possible objects or trains of thought. In simple words, attention means selecting one thing from many. So in your exam, you can write, attention is a mental process of selective concentration on one stimulus while ignoring others. Nature of attention. First, attention is selective. We cannot attend to everything. Second, attention is limited. Our capacity is limited. Third, attention is shifting. It keeps moving from one object to another. Fourth, attention is necessary for learning. Without attention, there is no learning. Example, if you are not attentive in class, you will not understand anything. Why is attention important? Because it makes perception clear, it improves memory, it improves learning, it increases efficiency, it helps in correct understanding, it helps in problem solving. So remember, without attention there is confusion, mistake and poor learning. Factors influencing attention. Why do we attend to some things and not others? Why do you notice a loud sound but ignore the fan? Why do you notice your name in a crowd? Psychologists say there are two types of factors, external and internal. Objective factors, which means external, subjective factors, which means internal. Now let us look at them in detail. Objective factors or external factors. These depend on the nature of the stimulus. First, nature of stimulus. Pictures attract more attention than words. Human face attracts more attention than objects. Second, location. Center and upper part of a page attracts more attention. Third, novelty. Anything new, strange or different attracts attention immediately. Example, if a dog enters the classroom, everyone will look around. Fourth, intensity. Strong stimuli attract more attention. Example, bright, light, loud, sound. Size. Big size attract more attention than small ones. Example, elephant versus ant. Sixth, movement. Moving objects attract more attention than stationary ones. Seventh, repetition. Repeated things attract attention for some time. Example, TV advertisements. Change. Sudden change attracts attention. Example, sudden silence in class. Subjective factors or internal factors. These depend on the person. Interest. We attend more to things we like. Example, a cricket fan notices cricket news immediately. Motives. Our needs and goals control attention. Example, a student will be alert when the teacher says this is important for exam. Third, organic state. Our physical condition affects attention. Example, hungry person notices food smell easily. Kinds or types of attention. There are three main types. First, involuntary attention. This comes automatically. No effort is needed. Example, sudden thunder, sudden loud noise. Second, voluntary attention. This is deliberate and purposeful. Effort is required. Example, studying, listening to lecture. Third, habitual attention. This is due to habit and training. Example, mother waking up to baby's cry even in sleep. Phenomena of attention. Now let us study the special features of attention. There are 4 phenomena. Span of attention, division of attention, distraction of attention, and fluctuation of attention. Span of attention means how many objects a person can attend to at one glance. Experiment. A tray with objects is shown for few seconds, then covered. How many objects you remember, your span, it depends on size of objects, practice and exposure time. Division of attention. Division of attention means attending to more than one activity at the same time. Example, walking and talking. But remember, we can divide attention only when one activity is automatic. If both are difficult, performance becomes poor. Distraction of attention. Distraction means when attention is disturbed by other stimuli. Example, noise, mobile phone, people talking. But sometimes we get used to background noise. This is called negative adaptation. Fourth, fluctuation of attention. Fluctuation means attention does not remain fixed on one object. It keeps shifting even if object is same. Example, when you look at clouds, shapes keep changing, or when you see ambiguous figures. So remember students, attention is the gateway of consciousness. Without attention, there is no clear perception, no proper learning, and there is no good memory. Now, let us move to another topic, perception. You may say, if I ask you, what are you seeing right now? You may say, I'm seeing my teacher, I'm seeing the board, I'm seeing my book or the YouTube lesson. But let me ask you something more interesting. Are your eyes only seeing or is your mind also working? Because students, two people can look at the same thing but understand it in different ways. One student looks at a question paper and feels fear, and another student looks at the same paper and feels confidence. Why? Because seeing is not just using eyes, seeing is also using the mind. This mental process of giving meaning to what we sense is called perception. So now we shall understand perception in detail. Meaning of perception. Sensation only gives us raw material. For example, eyes give light sensation, ears give sound sensation. But sensation alone has no meaning. Meaning is given by the mind. This process of giving meaning, organizing and interpreting sensation is called perception. So, in simple words, sensation meaning receiving information, perception meaning understanding information. Definition of perception. Perception is defined as the organizing process by which we interpret our sensory input. So remember this for exam. Perception is the process of organizing and interpreting sensory data to give it meaning. Difference between sensation and perception. Sensation is physiological. It is the first step, depends on sense organs, it only receives stimuli. Perception is psychological. It is the second step, depends on mind and experience, and it is giving meaning to stimuli. Example, eyes receive light, that is sensation. Understanding it as a book is perception. Nature of perception. Perception is selective. We do not perceive everything. Perception is subjective. Different people perceive the same thing differently. Perception is organized. Mind arranges sensations into meaningful patterns. Perception is influenced by experience. Past experience changes our perception. Determinants of perception. Why do different people see the same thing differently? Because perception is influenced by many factors called determinants of perception. Main determinants are past experience. What we have learned before affects what we see now. Example, a doctor sees disease in symptoms, a common man sees only pain. Second, expectation. Perceptual set. We see what we expect to see. Example, if you expect a friend in a crowd, you may mistake someone else for him or her. Motives and needs. Our needs influence perception. Example, a hungry person notices food pictures more. Learning. With practice, perception becomes sharper. An architect sees building details, a normal person does not. Subliminal perception. Sometimes we respond to stimuli even without being consciously aware of them. Principles of organization. Gestalt laws. Students, the mind does not see things in bits and pieces. It sees wholes. This idea was given by Gestalt psychologist. He is a German psychologist. Gestalt means form or whole. He said the whole is different from the sum of its past. The sum of its parts. Main Gestalt principles. First, proximity. Objects near each other are seen as a group. Similarity. Similar objects are grouped together. Third, continuity. We prefer smooth continuous lines. Fourth, closure. We fill in the gaps and see complete figures. Fifth, figure and ground. We separate the main object figure from the background. Example, Rubin's vase picture. Sometimes you see a vase, sometimes you see two faces. Errors in perception. Sometimes our perception is wrong. These are called errors in perception. Main types are illusion and hallucination. Illusion means wrong perception of a real external object. So, object is present but we see it wrongly. Types of illusions. Muller-Lyer illusion. Two equal lines look unequal because of arrowheads. Second, horizontal vertical illusion. Vertical line looks longer than horizontal even when both are same. Third, phi phenomenon. Illusion of movement. Used in cinema, TV, neon signs, still pictures shown rapidly appearing, moving. Hallucination. Hallucination means perceiving something when no external object is present. Example, seeing things that are not there, hearing voices when no one is speaking, usually seen in mental illness, high fever, drugs, extreme stress. Difference between illusion and hallucination. Illusion, object is present but perception is wrong. Hallucination, object is not present but still perception occurs. So remember students, sensation gives data, perception gives meaning. That is why different people see the same world differently. So if you have understood this lesson, please subscribe to my channel, like and share it with your friends and comment your thoughts below. I would also like to mention this chapter is very important for exam. Write definitions properly, draw diagrams for illusions in exam, give examples, revise all three: sensation, attention and perception. Thank you for watching.